So students, let's start our lecture with recapitulation. Whatever we did yesterday, there were two terms. One was rest and other was motion. Object rest पर कब होता है? When it remains fixed at its position and does not changes it with respect to time. Motion when it changes its position continuously. And what is this reference point? Reference point is a fixed point from which we can start measuring the distance covered by an object or the motion of a body. Now it can be any object which can be chosen as reference point. Then we discussed rest and motion relative to each other. Now how rest and motion are relative to each other? As it depends on the reference point. Rest and motion of a body depends person to person. Like we explained yesterday. So next thing is quantities. Quantities, any quantity, physical quantity. Since we study all the quantities, physical quantities like mass, length, time, temperature, force. So these all are quantities. How can we differentiate these quantities? It can be differentiated on the basis of scalar and vector. Scalar quantity in which we measure only the magnitude, like distance. Distance is a scalar quantity. Why? Because we measure magnitude in it. But vector quantities are the one in which magnitude as well as the direction is noted. Now its example can be displacement. Yesterday we discussed about displacement. What is displacement? It is the shortest path traveled by a body. Displacement is shortest path traveled by a body. How can we explain this? For example, if an object starts from point O, it moves to A, goes to B. So here the distance covered will be 10 plus 12, total distance. But the displacement is always the shortest. Shortest path being this O to B. This OB is the shortest path. So this is the displacement of object, displacement traveled by the object, whereas this OA and AB is the distance covered by the object. Hope you are now getting the concept of displacement. Now the question arises, can this displacement be zero? Yes, the displacement covered by an object can be zero. For example, let us say this A is the initial position of an object. It covers this distance in a circular path and again comes back to the point A only, which is its initial position also and its final position also. Now the shortest path is 0 because it started from here and ended here only. So in this case the total distance will remain 0. So the displacement can be 0. It can be positive. It can be negative. Positive will be like that of distance. If the object is covering some distance and the displacement is also in the same direction, then the displacement is positive. The displacement can be negative when it is moving in the direction which is opposite to it. So displacement is negative in case if the object goes in the opposite direction to the direction it has actually started. And it can be 0 if it comes to the final and initial position at the same point. Means if the object comes again there from where it started, the displacement is 0 in that case. So from here children we learn that since displacement is a vector quantity can be positive, negative and 0. But a scalar quantity is either 0 or it is positive. And in what case is distance 0? If object is at rest. The distance will be 0 at only one cost in case the object is at rest. If the object is moving, then distance can never be 0. So here are the basic differences between the distance and displacement. The first difference is the distance is actual path covered by a body, irrespective of direction. The distance does not depend on the direction of body, that in which direction the body is going. It depends only on the path chosen by the body. Displacement displacement of body is shortest distance between the initial and final position. Second, it is a scalar quantity. Displacement is a vector quantity. Distance traveled is always positive. Displacement may be positive, negative or zero. Distance traveled is always greater than or equal to displacement. Displacement is always less than or equal to the distance traveled. So from here we can get the thing that the distance traveled is always greater or equal to displacement. जो distance होता है वो कभी भी displacement से छोटा नहीं हो सकता, because an object is traveling the distance is the actual path, so it can never be shorter than displacement, but displacement can be equal to or less than the distance traveled by an object. After that, the next topic that we are going to study is uniform and non-uniform motion. What is uniform motion? A body is said to have uniform motion when it travels distances in equal intervals of time. Equal intervals of time. For example, just look at this figure. In 0 seconds, the object starts and in 1 second it covers 10 meters of distance. In the next second it covers 20 meters, and in next second it covers 30 meters, and in next it covers 40 meters. So in every second, every 1 second, 10 meters of distance is being covered by the object. So equal distance is covered in equal intervals of time. Such kind of motion in which the object covers equal distance in equal interval of time, it is known as uniform motion. Now what is this non-uniform motion? In this kind of motion, when a body travels unequal distances in equal intervals of time. How can we explain it? For example, in the first second the body is covering 1 meter, second 3 meters, in the next second 4.5, in the next 8 meters, then 9 meters, and then 11 meters. So in such unequal distances are covered in 6 seconds. Such kind of motion is known as non-uniform motion.